Good day, everyone. We are back in the studio again, the UE studio, here with my colleague Gary and the two lovely ladies, Nicole and Este from Crowe DNA. We are at our second part of our podcast, talking on Mind Your Business, or focusing on a campaign that UE is currently running. And the topic of part 2 is why employee wellness approach is a must-have for all organizations.
Welcome, ladies. Nice to see you again.
Thank you so much for having us again.
Awesome. So last time, part 1, we spoke about the role of organizational psychology in minding your business. And as Lee said, today we're going to be chatting about why employee wellness approach is a must-have for all organizations. So employee wellness has become quite a buzzword. But what does it actually mean, and why is it important for businesses?
Thank you so much. So employee wellness refers to any activity or a process or a approach that promotes the employee well-being, and that in itself refers to spiritual well-being, mental well-being, emotional well-being, and physical well-being. It's not a phenomena that has only recently come into play. It has been with organizations for quite some time already. However, given the recent circumstances that we face, or the current circumstances and the recent 18 months that have gone by, we find that employee wellness is especially important now. This pandemic has hit businesses all over in severe ways, and especially the business owners and also the employees. And in our experience, where we usually find employees becoming a little bit fatigued around August, maybe even October, we currently find our employees becoming more fatigued earlier on in the year, or much earlier on in the year. So around April, June, July, we already see employees very tired and especially burnt out, later in the year. It is also important to remember that employee support systems have been severely compromised by this pandemic. So we don't have the Oma or the Opa, where we can drop our kids off, because we need to protect the vulnerable people in our lives. So we find that businesses are now the place that employees turn to for assistance and help and understanding, especially. So where you would previously just, make a plan and just pitch up, at work, it is now more common for your boss or your line manager to receive a call and that says, I can't come into the office today. And, these things start to get more and more prevalent. And we find that if we do not help companies, organizations, and especially leaders to assist their employees through wellness crises, we are setting them up for failure in this very, very difficult time.
So where would business owners start to come up with solutions? What do you guys suggest? How can they show that they really care for their employees?
So this is a very good question, and we get asked this a lot, because wellness, like I said, is the buzzword and everyone. But what business owners and leaders need to understand is that employee wellness is a leadership issue, and it has to start at the top. You can't just look at the best product or solution on the market, and then you have to start with your leadership. And if the pandemic has taught us anything, and we discussed it a little bit earlier, is that leadership matters. And for most organizations with very fragile futures and are a little bit volatile at the moment, leadership matters now more than ever. And although the world of work is changing, which we also mentioned in the previous podcast, with technology and the different generations, and especially technology with AI coming in, there's a lot of well-being options and solutions in terms of robotic counseling, and there's just so many types of technology that can offer well-being solutions. But leadership will and has always played a critical role in employee well-being. And with that, as the world of work has changed, the role of a leader has also changed. And what we do is we help organizations and we help leaders to develop and understand and enable them to have the right competencies and capabilities to effectively be able to navigate through uncertainty and complexity, to be able to promote well well-being within their organizations. So looking at emotional intelligence, their interpersonal and leadership skills, the way they communicate, the way they can lead teams virtually. These are all things that we try and enable leaders to do, because then we start at the top. We have to look at the culture and the leadership first, and then we start looking at solutions. The way in which we at Crowe DNA approach well-being is also very different. We look at a very holistic view of employee well-being. So we don't just say, oh, well-being means coaching or, counseling, or here's a hotline that you can call if you're, having a bad day. But we really look at different interrelated factors that really all impacts employee productivity and their commitment at work. So, for example, the holistic view would take in interpersonal relationships, a person's health, their personal growth and self-actualization, their fun and recreation, the financial aspect, which most probably will translate because of the insecurity. Maybe someone, your spouse has lost their job, and now you're trying to engage this person and make sure that they're happy at work, but actually their stresses are not even related to their job. We also look at their physical environment, and very important, emotional and mental well-being is something that we diagnose and look at when we discuss employee well-being. And I also mentioned this in our previous podcast, organizational culture plays a big part. So understanding an organizational culture, looking at the leadership capabilities, what type of leadership do you need to effectively promote and sustain a healthy culture, the team dynamics, that can also play a big role, and then looking at the individual. So we do not just focus on your mental state. We look at it very holistically and how that rolls up to a team level and an organizational level. And again, leadership plays a critical part here. Yeah.
Cool, thanks. So you've shared a lot about the employees, but I'm glad also the leaders, and as we have a lot of leaders of companies listening to this as well, just how do they deal with, they're just trying to survive at the moment in their business. And they've got their own problems, and now they've got to look after employees' wellness, and they've got all their own stress. How do you work with the top leadership and CEOs and the MDs of companies just to deal with that stress of just trying to survive at the moment?
Yeah, so we focus very hard to, first of all, create a culture that supports leaders.
Yeah.
So that they can also have individuals to reach out to. We also provide them with skills. So if you can just take a practical example, this employee has been struggling with personal problems for a while. The one thing preventing a line manager or a leader, stepping in is the skills to effectively deal with that situation. And I think we are all sitting here and wondering, should we get involved? Will I be dragged, into the situation? What will be expected of me if I do get involved? Will I have to watch their kids or,
Yes.
So there's so many hesitations and limitations from leadership side to actually help an employee. If we provide them with the skills to tell them these are the guidelines when you see an employee, you assess the situation, you refer him, you keep it confidential, just a rough guideline to help them. We find that leaders are able then to address a situation much quicker, and the effects of that potential problem on the organization gets resolved much easier as well, or much quicker as well. So, it's very much around skills development for leaders.
And if I can just add to that, I think what's also important, and I am talking from personal experience as well, is for leaders to understand that you carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. And even if you go on a holiday, and especially for business owners, you can hide under the desk. You cannot escape the pressures. People's salaries need to be paid. Cash is king. We have to, although all these words we've been using, and employee well-being and culture and, all these things are nice words to have. The bottom line is survival. And what's important then for business owners to understand, especially when they're under so much pressure, is self-care. And self-care is very, very difficult. It's an easy word to say, but to practice is very, very difficult. With that comes boundaries and looking after yourself, because you cannot be anything for anyone else if you don't look after yourself. Yeah. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So it is absolutely essential for you to look after yourself, your mindset, your heart set, your soul set, and your health set. All of those components to be able to be more for others. It is so important. You cannot be burnt out. If you take if you don't hold the steering wheel and you're not going, no one else is going to go anyway. So it's really, really important for leaders to look after themselves, set boundaries, understand what you need to fill your own cup. And we as leaders, we often kind of put that secondary. I'll be happy if you're happy. Let me just do this first. I can't, and it's really, you will burn out, and you cannot be the most effective leader or business owner that you can be if you don't look after yourself first.
Brilliant. I love that. And maybe you can give some examples or tools to business owners that are working from home right now. How do you make that disconnect now that you're working from home between business and family and leisure time? And do you have any?
It's so difficult because the boundaries have now completely merged. And I myself find myself, sitting at the kitchen table and just peeking over my husband's shoulder and just checking if that email has popped in. And the one thing that I find working for me is, in order to be connected, in order to stay connected to your team, to your organization, you have to disconnect at some times. So that means changing an outfit, going to a different part of the house, hanging out in another room. Make it very practical for yourself, going for a walk. Tell yourself that after 5, I'm switching off emails, or I'm switching off my phones, or I'm taking my emails from my phone, So there are different ways to manage those boundaries, just to create we find that to create a space in your house, in your home, where you work, because we do like to, sometimes just switch it off and jazz it up a little bit, and then I sit in the room, and then I sit in the dining hall or whatever. But to create a workspace for yourself at home is very important. That is your workspace. It's almost like you are conditioning your body to be productive in that space. And when you're in that space, your kids know that you need, that they need to potentially try to leave you alone for a few seconds. And it's almost like your brain is just getting into that work mode, because we don't have the water cooler anymore to connect to our employees. We don't have the kitchen anymore. So we need to create those spaces for ourselves. We do have a very interesting infographic that I'm going to share with you. That will give you more tips on how to remain productive and connected and disconnected at home. And we will share that with you right after this podcast. But other than that, there are many other solutions and services that we do offer for organizations. I don't know if you
maybe if you can just share what types of wellness solutions can business owners consider, and what's available out there.
So business owners usually come to us and say, where do we even start? What do we do? And the nice thing about this is, although it's very holistic and although it's big, you can break it down into bite-sized chunks, right? So as Nicole mentioned, we approach organizations holistically, and the same with wellness. So we would typically start with wellness solutions at an organizational level. For example, do you have a wellness policy in place? That would always be a good start. How do you view wellness? What are you willing to pay for when it comes to wellness? Do you cover psychology fees, or do you cover, a trip to your kid's doctor? Or, there are certain decisions that a business can make in terms of what they are willing to contribute to their wellness, and put that in a policy and make that policy available. That is the most important thing. Also, we would look at wellness diagnostics and surveys for the organization that would border very closely to culture, but with a specific focus on wellness, the physical, spiritual, emotional, and mental wellness. We can help organizations with absenteeism management. What is the trend? When do we see trends picking up? Is it close to payday, after payday? And how to address that through a cultural intervention, for example. If we move a little bit lower in the organization, we focus on team wellness, right? So that would mean leadership training, management support. We have wellness workshops on a range of topics, from emotional intelligence to how to be more productive, and we also understand the client requirements and the limitations currently, so we will not run a week workshop on a topic. We have webinars available. We have infographics available. I think the key is just to get it out there and to make it known to the employees. Virtual wellness training, how to assist leaders to manage their teams better virtually, assisting employees to perform better when they are working from home. And then we go down to an individual level where we provide personal counseling to some employees. If we see the matter is more severe and more serious, we would refer them to the right healthcare professional. We do career counseling, individual support, employees phoning us, telling us we're going through a difficult time, and, using that as in-the-moment coaching. Trauma counseling has become very, very prevalent as well. And then, like I said, we do referrals to a legal advisory or a doctor or a psychiatrist or whatever is necessary in that case. So there's a bunch of solutions available. It is just to see what the organization really needs and then how to package that for them.
So, and thank you so much. And just to add to that, there's so many solutions and it can customize and, but again, back to leadership, wellness and mental health has to be role modeled. It's now so popular, or everyone wants to wear burnout like a badge of honor, working until 3 a.m. There's practical things that you can do, because doesn't matter how big your budget is, what you do in terms of wellness, if you don't role model it as a leader, it's going to be very, very hard to entrench that into your culture. So, block some time in your diary, but be intentional about it. Block that time out. Make that your focus time. Make that your time to kind of disconnect. Look at the things in your life that are important, your family, your spirituality, exercising, and plot it now as it is, on a scale from 0 to 10, and see if it looks like a circle, you're doing well. It doesn't have to be all 10, but there must be balance. And I did this exercise recently, and it was, work and family was like 10, and then everything else that I thought was okay actually came out like 1. My hobbies and interests, which fuels me and gives me energy, was very, very low. My spirituality, which is a big part of me, also, and now it's very tangible and visible, and I can work on those things, and I can make a commitment to myself and work and maybe come down a few hours a week, and I'm going to invest it in this area, and just to make my circle much more balanced and fuller. That's really, really important to be intentional about it. Another practical way is, and we discussed this yesterday with a client, we are both night owls. We send emails, but for us to role model that to our clients and to our staff, there are practical things that you can do. So when I'm sending an email at 2 a.m, don't let it go through. Put your settings so it goes through at appropriate hours, so that they don't, even though they are working at night, that they don't feel the urge to have to email you straight away, and they don't feel guilty for not also working at 2 or 3 in. So being a role model and leading the way forward is very, very important to make sure that you're getting the most out of your well-being solutions and creating a culture of well-being.
Just to end off, another practical thing that business owners especially can do from a wellness perspective is to have the wellness hotline numbers very close by, right? So I'm referring to your suicide helpline, domestic abuse line, counseling helpline, and child helpline. It's always like, when you encounter an accident next to the road, everyone panics and you don't know what the number for an ambulance is. And in that moment, seconds can really make a difference. So if you now first have to look for a number and, call or ask around, and if you have those numbers close by, and you can just immediately provide those numbers to your employees so that they can reach out anonymously to an objective party, that really helps a lot.
Brilliant advice there. Thank you very much. So a last question from my side, and then I'll ask you, Lisa, if she's got any questions. But businesses often only change when they're forced to, so it's too late. So when's the right time to come to you, to Crowe DNA?
Yesterday.
We get asked this a lot because
Yes.
we always come in when there are
It's
problems.
crisis.
So there's a culture issue, people aren't engaged, but they have this leadership issue, or and we so we do often come in too late. So it's really to be proactive, and this is important. For example, they have a problem, a low performing person there, but the problem was at the recruitment. They didn't assess a person straight away to make sure that they are right fit for the role, they match the culture, they can live the values of the organization. So we come in at, there's a person that's not performing well, how do we make, so there's so much money goes into developing people and moving them around, or giving them a packet or whatever, getting them out of the business or developing them, instead of just looking at, is this the right person to begin with? Do they fit the role? And what is their potential to grow within the business? So we really urge, organizations to make sure from the recruitment phase that they're getting the right person. You lose, and I don't think many leaders understand how much it costs to employ the wrong person. The training, the knowledge, the time that goes into that person before they can even be effective in their role is very, very important. So we also, from an organizational perspective, sometimes we get to, especially in very technical environments, your architects, your lawyers, your mining industries, manufacturing, we get to a point where the whole leadership team, so the whole organization is an array, but what the problem is that the leadership team have not developed the capabilities to be effective leaders. And as I mentioned, it happens very often in very technical environments where people get promoted because they are technically sound and they're very good at their job. They pull on their knowledge and experience. They can make decisions around what they know. So now they're technically very good, but now you promoting them because they're good at what they do, and you are now asking them to manage other people and not just themselves. So they actually have to let go of what they're good at and do that through other people, which means they have to have good interpersonal skills. They have to have good communication skills. Their EQ has to be high. They must be able to work with a lot more complex and integrated processes. Are they ready for that jump? And often we get to a point where your senior management team have climbed the ladder to such an extent, but those skills have never been developed. So now we come in at that because we can, and like I said, leadership, it all starts at the top. Leadership is the most crucial part to play in this. So often we have to work with the leadership team to enable them and give them those skills before we can move down to the different organizations, because you'll see at every facet of culture diagnostics, everything we do, there's a leadership facet in that. We try and urge from a selection, from a talent, from a retention perspective, looking at what you've got, understanding and how do you foster that, to be proactive in that, so that you don't get to a point where you are, we have to backtrack so far, where, culture is not something that can change overnight. Esther, do you want to add something?
Well, just with the current circumstances, if you do not have a point of view, at least on wellness and how you are able to support your employees, chances are you're going to be needing it quite soon, come to us, chat to us, and let's see how we can help you to formulate a wellness strategy for your business.
Fantastic. On that note, Esty, can you maybe give some details, or Nicole, just where can people reach you? Where can they contact you if they want to make use of your services? Because I'm just, like Gary said, if I've got questions, but I'm just sitting and I'm like, it's amazing because I'm a very practical person, and the things that you're explaining here is so practical, which is good because it's something that they can actually go and implement, because you can give books to people to read. You read articles on wellness and mental health, but it comes to that point of actually implementing it, and it sounds like that's where you guys come in. So where can people contact you?
And if I can just, jump in there, we have got a worldwide audience as well. So do you guys have offices in other countries, or is it only in South Africa? And how do they contact those offices as well, if you don't mind adding to that?
Okay, sure. Okay. So we are a member of Crowe Global, and we have offices
Wonderful.
all over the world. So we definitely have representation, and especially in today's world, most things are virtual and it's quick. Every solution that we have can be applied virtually. All the surveys, the psychometric assessments, we have really moved to a digitized solution offering, and we do have a global representation. So like Jodie said, I just wanted to comment on what you said as well. This doesn't have to be this fancy blue sky well-being thing. There are practical ways and bite-sized pieces that we can take to really start just moving in the right direction. And this is by understanding where you currently are and what you need to just get there, looking at your budget requirement, looking at what your organizational needs are, and that is where we really come in to really understand what your needs are and how do we provide the right solution.
Our contact details, I think it would be the easiest just to contact us directly, and then if we see that you need assistance in your specific country, we can always, refer you or make a plan or just engage with those firms and branches up there. Our info DNA email address is infodna@crowe.za.com. And our website is crowedna.com.
Brilliant. And are you on any of the social media channels as well?
Yes, LinkedIn and Facebook.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yes. So we look forward to hearing from everyone and seeing how we can help really with the employee well-being. It's not something that's going to be going away anytime soon. It's not necessarily attached just to the pandemic. It's really made people aware of how important mental health is in the workplace. It's something that never took priority, but it will continue in the future. So I would really urge business owners and leaders to be really proactive in making sure that they see this as a priority.
Brilliant. Is that small to medium businesses as well, or is this just large organizations?
Oh, that's a very good question. So, what defines an organization is more than one relationship. So, wherever people are involved is where we apply our services. We have clients that have 5 employees. We've got clients that have 50,000 employees. It's really we really can help whether it's one person with a staff member, making sure they're growing a business. They must get the right person, because it's going to be for a startup to get the wrong person is going to be detrimental. We find it a lot in startups. So when a big organizations, it's easier to fall through the cracks if you've got a poor performer. If you have a startup with 5 or 10 employees, if you get the wrong person and doesn't fit the team dynamic, that can make or break your business. So we really have help clients from all sizes and all industries. We've got government, non-profit, private sector, because the same concepts and principles apply when you look at people and the psychology of people. So we really try. What it makes our job so difficult is that we really do understand people, and we entrench ourselves so much in the culture of the organization that we like working with smaller companies, because we get to know them. We walk in there like we're staff members. They don't even know we don't work there.
High fives on the way out.
We get invited to year-end functions and Friday afternoon drinks, which is really nice. But the large organizations, we try and maintain that personal touch, that being really entrenched. And like I mentioned, we don't believe in quick fix solutions. So even if we go project based with big organizations, these are 4 or 5 year relationships, and the what we do there just kind of organically grows and changes. But we really instill ourselves in all different sizes of organizations.
Okay, fantastic, ladies. It was absolutely lovely having you in the studio with us. And thank you so much for sharing all the information. Gary, thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you,
inviting
ladies.
us. It was
And
lovely.
listeners, contact them, anybody in leaders, businesses, if you want to get hold of Crowe DNA. We'll also be sharing the information on our website, on our Facebook pages, our LinkedIn. So, make contact with these ladies. Thank you all.